Yo, what's good everyone? Welcome back! One Piece Chapter 1188 might just be the chapter that finally proves why Nerona Imu sits at the very top of the world. We finally get the long-awaited full-power clash between Gear 5 Luffy and Imu's true form. Oda also gives us brief but incredibly important flashbacks of Joy Boy and Imu, reveals a brand new Gear 5 transformation, and introduces one of the most terrifying weapons we've ever seen in the series. Before we jump in, if you enjoy these weekly One Piece chapter breakdowns, I'd really appreciate it if you could leave a like and subscribe. I started this channel to cover every new chapter each week, so if that sounds like something you'd enjoy, consider sticking around. Now, let's dive straight into some peak One Piece. Chapter 1188 opens not on the battlefield, but inside a memory. A transponder snail crackles with static. A voice comes through asking who is on the other end. There is a slight lag in the signal before a reply comes back, identifying the speaker as Imu. Imu asks the same question in return, and the figure on the other end answers simply that he is Joy Boy. That smile, the only part of him visible, is the spitting image of the grin Luffy wears constantly. Back in the present, Imu confirms to himself that Joy Boy is already dead. What frustrates him is that Luffy keeps stirring these memories back up, and Luffy has absolutely no idea he is doing it. With that, the fight picks right back up. Imu launches straight at Luffy. Luffy yanks his head out of the way at the last moment in classic Gear 5 fashion. But the omen flames on Imu's hand apparently have a mind of their own. They speak, almost, adjusting the trajectory mid-swing, telling themselves to go lower, and the hand just follows Luffy's head down and smacks him hard enough to send him crashing into the ground with an explosion. Just like how Luffy attacks in Snake Man, Luffy gets back up, the same way he shook off Kaido's blasts in Gear 5, absorbing the impact and bouncing right out of it. He charges right back at Imu, throwing a punch, but Imu is already gone. It practically looks as if he teleported behind him before Luffy could commit to the attack. What follows is one of the cleaner exchanges of the chapter. Luffy reads the gap, dodges the attack cleanly, and reappears behind Imu in turn. He throws another shot, but Imu just swings his weapon lazily and deflects it without even looking bothered. Then Imu decides to switch approaches and begins launching omen firebombs. They pour out in waves and immediately chase Luffy across the battlefield. Luffy takes off running in that wild, exaggerated Looney Tunes sprint that Gear 5 naturally produces. He is yelling out loud about whatever is chasing him, calling them bombs and demons. Imu does not let up and keeps launching more. Then Luffy stops, turns around, and fires back with Jet Gatling, throwing a rapid wall of rubber punches. What happens next is actually a little funny. The flames flinch. They react to the incoming punches with visible, scared-looking expressions, clearly sentient in some way, and Luffy successfully scatters and stops the attack. Then he does something nobody has seen before. He transforms. His body balloons and reshapes into a massive genie-like silhouette, a huge floating form that is being called Gomu Gomu no Demon God, or Majin, though the translation of that name is a little rough around the edges. Visually, it is unmistakable, a giant, ethereal genie shape. And in that genie state, Luffy tells Imu that he was watching the whole time during the fight with Loki and has clocked some of his moves. He also announces that Loki's death will not be in vain. Loki's voice immediately cuts through the chaos from nearby, screaming that he is very much still alive. Luffy, still in full giant genie mode, catches a glimpse of him and waves casually like it is nothing. Imu is not amused and sends another wave of omen fire, this time aimed directly at Loki. Loki is still badly injured and can barely move. Ragnir, seeing this, steps in front of Loki to block the incoming attack, planting himself there, visibly shaking but holding his ground. Loki shouts at Ragnir to get out of the way. But before it comes to either of them absorbing the hit, Jinbe steps in. He uses Gyojin karate technique and deflects the omen blast entirely, protecting both Ragnir and Loki in one move. Luffy, still in genie form, immediately starts loudly praising Jinbe. Jinbe keeps it focused, asking Luffy for a clear order to protect Loki. Luffy answers right away, saying that Loki is his buddy and he is leaving him with Jinbe. Ragnir is visibly blown away by what Jinbe just did. Loki is not as appreciative, screaming at Luffy and calling him a runt for casually referring to him as his buddy. A short distance away, Frankie, Brook, Usopp, and Nami are watching all of this unfold. They have just realized Luffy has started fighting this new enemy directly and are trying to make sense of what they are looking at. They do not know who this person is. Brook is the one trying to work through it logically. His conclusion is that whoever this is has to rank above the Holy Knights, and above even the 5 elders. Usopp guesses that this must be the captain of the Holy Knights. None of them are close to the truth. Brook just notes that the world government is a far more mysterious organization than anyone had ever realized. Meanwhile, the ice encasing Gunko has finally melted enough. She is still unconscious, but they are in the process of pulling her free. Imu looks over at the ice block, realizes that Gunko has still not been freed from the ice. Imu looks concerned about Gunko. Her mismatched eye color and whatever ability is tied to that awakening seem to matter to him in a way that goes beyond just a downed fighter. She's still unconscious, but Imu's attention keeps drifting back to her. And it's not just Gunko. Imu also clocks Brook, the man with the afro who's referring to Gunko as Princess Shuri. There's a flicker of recognition there, like Imu is starting to piece together who Brook actually is, possibly connecting him to someone he saw back in Asperia. But before that thought can go anywhere, Luffy cuts right through it. Luffy launches opening bullet. Imu doesn't dodge, doesn't block with any visible effort, he just raises a single palm and the attack stops dead. Doesn't matter the strength, the size, the hockey behind it, it just stops. Imu counters with more omen fire, using it to mark Luffy's beard while he's still in that giant genie form. And while he's doing that, Imu asks Luffy directly, "Were you watching what happened to that giant, Loki?" The black flames lock onto Luffy as a target, and Imu sets up what looks like a bell-shaped formation, a guaranteed hit technique that closes in on whatever the mark is placed on. Under normal circumstances, there's no escaping it. But it won't work on Luffy in Gear 5. Luffy drops back out of the genie transformation into regular Gear 5, and the moment he does, the beard disappears with the form, taking the fire mark along with it. The chasing flames suddenly have nothing to latch onto, and Luffy bolts, narrowly avoiding the same kind of pinning setup that had caught Loki earlier. But there's no breathing room. Imu fires more omen flames and they just follow him, literally chasing him wherever he goes. Then Imu does something new. He converts his existing weapon into omen flame, dissolving it entirely, and then reaches back into those dark, eye-like Hagoromo clouds behind him. A new weapon begins to manifest, and this isn't just his old weapon changing shape by using omen. The entire base form restructures itself into something resembling a saber. Different design, different properties, a different weight to it altogether. He calls it Bofu, the Void Sword. The moment the blade fully appears, the forest around them starts to wither. Trees dying, vegetation pulling back, the environment reacting to the weapon's presence before it's even touched anything. It's a signal that this isn't just a sword. Luffy, up in the air, notices it too. The forest is wilting specifically in Imu's radius, while everywhere else looks fine. Something about that weapon is draining the life out of the area just by existing. Imu coldly says something to the effect that the view is improving now. Now he's done with idleness. Then he moves. It's almost like a teleport, closing the gap in an instant. And before Luffy can react, Imu drives the Void Sword straight through him. The visual is immediately reminiscent of Crocodile stabbing Luffy back in Alabasta. Same kind of moment, emotionally and visually. Then he speaks. He looks at Luffy and says he knows Luffy is not Joy Boy, and that if Luffy were Joy Boy, he would never be this weak. That's where the chapter ends. The editor's note reads, "The majestic power of the King of the World." Alright everyone, that's it for One Piece Chapter 1188. If you enjoyed the breakdown, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Since this channel is dedicated to weekly One Piece chapter recaps and explanations, there'll be plenty more videos like this every time a new chapter drops. Thank you all so much for watching.